In my previous Scambaiting episode, I asked the scammer if the funds on offer were glarded, which was a confusing question because glarded is just a nonsense word I made up. In today's episode, we're going to dig deeper into that rich seam of confusion with some other scammers. So let's go Scambaiting again. Mrs. Jennifer Roberts emailed me with an all too familiar story about being an enormously wealthy widow, dying of cancer and wanting to hand over her fortune to me, a complete stranger on the internet, so I could assist in using the money for charity. I have heard all of this before, literally and exactly. Even the amount is a very familiar $8.5 million. So I said, "This sounds interesting and is a great surprise. Can you tell me if this money has been glarded in any way?" The scammer replied with the usual wordy standard email, which I won't read in full, but the highlights are: she's terribly sick with a terminal disease that's worsening by the day, lost her husband and only heir in a tragic accident, wants to give her fortune to the less privileged, orphanages, single mums and widows. I can keep 30% of the fund for myself, but I must keep everything highly confidential for some reason relating to her jealous brother-in-law. Ending with, "Please assure me that you will not treat this offer with levity." Well, good luck with that. I mean, none of this story would be funny if the slightest part of it were true. I didn't reply because actually this email got stuck in my spam filter, causing the scammer to email me again saying, "How are you doing today? Please, is everything all right with you? I sent you email yesterday on how this will be accomplished, and since then I did not hear from you again. Have you changed your mind over this?" I replied, "I did not recept that email. I wonder what happened did. Were you able to answer my question concerning the money? Has it been glarded in any way?" The scammer said, "Thanks for the email. Please, your question is confusing. If you don't mind, will you explain what you mean?" I said, "I just needed to know the answer to that question." Then, "I just noticed that all of your emails have been crawling straight into my junk mail folder. That's why I didn't see them before. Please, could you stop doing that? It just makes them difficult to reply to." They replied, "Thanks for the email. Maybe network is making my emails to be in your junk folder. Also, based on what you have been asking, the answer is no." I said, "Thanks. Whatever you did, it must have worked, as this email crawled straight into my inbox. Okay, it could be a problem if the funds are not glarded, as my account is in a tax code, but I suppose we can sort that out near to the time." The scammer replied with a very lengthy and obviously pre-written email, all very standard stuff about the money being in a security box, more weepy, sad story details, and requesting my personal information. You know, the kind of information you should never share with a stranger on the internet. Up to this point, I had just been making up random nonsense words on my own, some of them deliberate typos of real words, others just sort of intended to sound about right for their place in the sentence, but meaning nothing. Then someone tipped me off about this online nonsense word generator, which creates lists of things that usually sound like they could be English words, but also usually aren't. So I started using this to expand my nonsense vocabulary. I asked just one more small question. For the contact address, should I give my Sablety address or the Holity address? The scammer responded, "All I need is your address for security purpose, okay? So provide any address you feel that is okay." I said, "May I ask for what purpose you need the address? This will help me decide whether to use the Holity or Sablety addresses. You see, the Holity address is part of a HENDFIS, whereas a Sablety address is itself a HENDFIS, comprising several subdirects within it. As you can imagine, it may be a problem if I provide an address with the wrong minity." They replied, "The reason why the address is needed is for security purpose, all right? I don't know you, so I need to forward them to my attorney, that is why." So I said, "I understand. Perhaps your attorney can impart which address I should use. I am just clueless to avoid inequality later." And I guess the scammer might have actually consulted someone else, although of course probably another scammer rather than an actual attorney, as I never heard anything back. I tried to rekindle the conversation, but nothing. Never mind though, that was just a start. Next up, David Kofi, supposedly the regional manager of a bank in Ghana, wants my help in laundering some excess profits he embezzled last year. He can't be connected with the fund because he's still working at the bank, but it's completely risk-free for me because it will be a bank transfer. I mean, that's not a likely story, even if any of the details were not complete fabrication, but no matter. I replied, "Hi." The scammer sent me the expected wordy email laying out the supposed details of the entirely fictional story and asking for my personal information. You know, the kind of information you should never share with a stranger on the internet. I ignored that and asked, "Thanks, have the funds been glarded in any way?" The scammer said, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "I need to know." They replied, "What do you need to know, please?" I said, "I need to know if the funds are glarded. My account is in a tax code." The scammer said, "If this fund goes to your account, if there is any tax to be paid, you will take money from the main money and pay for the tax there." I replied, "I don't think you understand. A tax-coded account cannot receive glarded funds without an inequality certificate." They said, "All the backup certificates will be sent to you once the fund is transferred to your account." I responded, Understood, but I will need to know in advance about the glarding. The scammer asked, what do you mean by glarding? I said, I thought you said you work in a bank. I'm just surprised I would need to explain any of this to a banking professional. Trying not to lose face, the scammer replied, since you are talking glarding, explain it to me. Well, David, I'm glad you asked. If the funds are glarded, they cannot be received into an account such as mine, which is in a tax code, unless an inequality certificate is presented. I have heard of cases where people got this wrong and the funds were mass-squished by the Office of Vertingix. Attempting to rally, the scammer said all the backup documents will be sent together with the fund when it is transferred to your account, so they will not glarded the fund. I said, thanks. I don't know why you couldn't have just explained that at the outset. Okay, what happens next? The scammer just sent me that copy-paste email again. You know, the one asking for personal details that, well, you know the rest. So I said, please, could you clarify the purpose that you require the address information for? I have several addresses, but each has a different purpose. They replied, your data is needed to proceed. Also, I will use it to apply for the payment application form, which you will use to contact our bank for the fund transfer to your account. I said, I see. Should I provide my Holity address or my Sablety address? The scammer tried to clarify, your house address and other details requested from you. But I asked, yes, understood, but which one, the Holity address or the Sablety address? Losing patience now, something it always warms my heart to see. The scammer replied, send any address you like. Listen, this transaction is not a childish play. If you are not ready, forget about it, please. But I have a rule. Respond to aggression not with compliance, but with righteous indignation. So I said, if it's not childish play, then why do I have to keep explaining things to you as if you were a small boy? A Holity address is always spomed inside a glode, together, as the law requires, with 4 other Holity addresses. A Sablety address is itself a glode, into which exactly 5 Holity addresses are enspomed together, subspellically. As such, it's obvious that these addresses are not interchangeable. Now, which type of address is appropriate to the purpose at hand? Sounding kind of defeated now, the scammer just replied, your resident address. I said, yes, but which one? But that was apparently enough for Mr. David Kofi. He quit the game. Okay, so what's the point of all this nonsense exercise? Well, there are a few reasons for doing this. I mean, firstly, it's just nice to waste the time of scammers and confuse them. But also I have these 2 faint hopes that, firstly, we might be able to actually inject some nonsense words into the vocabulary of some scammers, and those might come out again in a conversation with a real victim, and that might help to snap the victim out of being scammed. But also I sort of hope that the scammers might be Googling my nonsense words enough to make them show up on Google Trends. Truthfully, that's a bit too much to hope for, but I mean, if you Google John Barossa, it does say, did you mean John Warosa, which makes me absurdly happy. And then there's just the fact that composing nonsense is fun in itself. I'm jumping on board a very established, rich and long tradition of nonsense, and yeah, that's fun. Anyway, the Western Union team contacted me to say this is to inform you that after the meeting held in my office yesterday, which consists between the United States Embassy and the United Nations African ECOWAS, we have concluded that you will be compensated with all the money you have loosed in the hands of Africans, and most especially Nigeria precisely. We have deposited the cheque of your fund, $4.8 million, through Western Union Department after our finally meeting regarding your fund. All you will do is contact Western Union Director Dr. Demian Great. He will give you direction on how you will be receiving the funds daily. Remember to send him your full information. You know, the sort of information you should never share with a stranger on the internet. Now, they actually wanted me to phone them, and maybe I'll follow through on one of those one day. But just for now, I replied, please confirm if this fund is glarded. They sent me a very standard second email, amongst other things requesting payment of a fee of $250. I just repeated the question, have the funds been glarded? I need to know. They replied, you are not serious. I asked, what do you mean? They said, you must pay the fee before you will receive your funds. I replied, you are not serious, and that was that. Next, an email strangely titled, Are you still alive? I always kind of wonder what would happen if you replied saying no. But anyway, this one was claiming to be from the Central Bank of Nigeria, saying that a random woman had walked in claiming to be my representative, and that if I didn't respond in the next 3 days, they were just going to believe this person and give them access to whatever fund I supposedly have there. Yeah, banks don't work like that. I answered, what's the name of this woman? The scammer replied, thank you for your question. Her name is Mrs. Rebecca Finery, and it is also mentioned in the letter I sent to you. Please kindly read the letter over and over and give us the reply. So, just to be clear, I had responded to their email, but they still wanted me to formally confirm if I'm alive. Makes perfect sense. I said, I'm not familiar with such a person. I did know a Richard Finery when I was at school in the 1970s. I wonder if he has any relation. They replied, OK, Good. Hence you have proof that you did not send Mrs. Rebecca Finery. She will be arrested in her next appointment for attempting to claim another person's fund. The woman in question should be arrested and bring to book. However, you are advised to submit your credential for the release of your fund, USD 8.4 million. Therefore, you are expected to forward your account details, which turned out to be all those sort of personal details you should never share with a stranger on the internet. I said, thank you. Can you confirm if the fund is guarded in any way? They ignored my important question and just sent me an obviously pasted email saying that the arrangements have been perfectly concluded and listing me as one of the contractors to be paid for the first quarter, Jan-March 2021. Nice. I repeated, please confirm if the fund is guarded. They said, in respect to your last email message, I have forwarded a message from the upper chambers on foreign contractors payment to you as answer your question, although the later is not meant for contractors. However, submit your credential for the release of your fund. I explained. Thank you, I cannot proceed until I know whether the fund is guarded or not. This is necessary because my account is in a tax code. They tried to say something relevant, which was, I have used different words to explain to you on your question, if the fund is glared or not, but it seems you don't understand. There is no issue on the fund. To answer you directly, it is glared. We have verified and found out that it is legible to release your fund without any issues. On the tax code issue, I know that you are aware that if you've just set up a new business, you might be worried that this will change the tax code for your day job. Don't worry. HMRC won't do this unless you specifically ask them to. You still pay the same tax on your wages. Sir, I have too many files on my table on contractors' payment I'm handling. I do not have much time to debate on one issue. But none of that really addressed my concern, so I replied, I think you may have misunderstood. I asked if it was guarded, not glared. Also, a tax code is not the same as a tax code. A tax code is a kind of blusion where accounts are grappolated, which provides many advantages in terms of dirgents and patrons. But unfortunately, such an account cannot receive guarded funds directly. An inequality certificate is required. And for some reason, they stopped corresponding with me at this point. Oh well, who's next? Walter Fuchs emailed me to say, without any other explanation or context, now we have arranged your payment of $4.8 million, $4,800,000 United States dollars, to be sent to you through Western Union money transfer. We will be sending the money to you via Western Union money transfer. The amount you will receive per day is $10,000 daily. I'm guessing this was another of these scam messages that's designed to intercept another scam in progress, so one scammer steals the victim of another scammer by interrupting it in a way that to an inattentive victim might seem like a handoff or continuation. There were verbose instructions at the bottom about contacting someone called Dr. Tony Christ, actually weirdly specific instructions on how to forward an email. I replied, OK. Anthony Christ, also known as Emma, replied to try to hustle me along and pay a fee of $155. I asked, is this money guarded? Tony, Emma Christ, ignored my question and indeed my name, addressing me as Rana in the next reply, which was just a repeat request for the fee. They say repetition is the mother of learning, so I asked again, has this money been guarded? The scammer inquired, what do you mean by guarded? I said, I thought you worked for the bank. Is this not the case? But that seems to have discouraged the scammer from replying. Game over. Now, remember that United Nations scammer that kept jumping back on the hook, I mean again and again, in 3 previous videos? I thought we'd give them a try, so from my Merton Snurden mailbox, I innocently asked, what's happening with this box now? They replied, hello, you wrote us. Sorry, what are you talking about? I said I was wondering about the box. If you recall, their scam was some cock and bull story about a box of money or gold bars, or money disguised as gold bars, which I could have sent to me if only I paid an advance fee. They replied, why worry about the box? You were never an interesting businessman. Oof, well that's unkind. I thought I would probably leave it there, but their own worst enemy, they couldn't let it lie. They wrote again, saying, what if they box is still available? What are you going to do about that? I said, is it still available? I am interested. The scammer said, please, if I can ask you this question, how serious are you? Because there will be no room for such precious negotiations. I replied, I don't know how to measure seriousness. I really do want to do something here, though. Yeah, something. They confirmed the box is still available. I asked, is it guarded? They replied, what does that basically mean? The package this time is huge, so the delivery charges. I said, surely I don't have to explain what guarded means to an operative of the United Nations. We'll see what happened next after this short break to look at one of your frequently asked questions. Today's question is, why do the scammers ask for personal information of the type you should never share with a stranger on the internet? Well, certainly it isn't critical to the script of their scam to collect your personal information, and I have demonstrated this in the past by blustering or arguing my way past the personal details, and we still get to the part where they want the fee, or gift cards, or whatever. So they obviously don't need those details to scam you. There's something else going on, and it probably includes the following possibilities. Firstly, they might just find that asking for personal details makes the whole process feel more official from the perspective of the victim, and this might make that victim more likely to stay on the hook. Nextly, they might well abuse those personal details, or more likely collate them and sell them on to other scammers who specialise in identity theft, account hacking and the like. And finally, and this is the one I know about from talking to an actual scam victim, if they get a fair way through the scam, and the victim suddenly realises they're being scammed, the scammers may switch to threats of violence to extract money. I talked to one person who'd been in that exact situation, and the scammers were demanding money on threat of coming to the victim's location to kill them, backing up their probably actually empty threat by sending pictures of mutilated corpses and the like. And that's why I always say you should never share your personal details with a stranger on the internet. Anyway, back to the scam baiting. So to recap, my United Nations scammer had asked me what glarded means, and I had said surely I don't have to explain what glarded means to an operative of the United Nations. Saving face, they responded, "I know what you're talking about, but please go straight to the point." I explained, thanks, I need to know if it's glarded because my finances are in a tax code. They cagily replied, yes, so what happens then? I said it's pointless talking about the what if, just tell me if it's glarded or not, then we'll be able to decide the next step. They confirmed the box is glarded. What's the next step? I said, thanks, if you can forward the paperwork on that, I'll be most grateful. They said, we're basically going to send the paperwork once you can be able to pay for a court claim affidavit, which is just $450. No, I'll need the certificate of inequality before any of that. Since the box is glarded, my entire finances are in a tax code, you see. Now, when I was assembling the script for this video, it seemed like they'd had enough of me and wouldn't respond any further, even when I asked them, please respond. But during the edit, this scammer is still actually sporadically responding, and if that turns into anything interesting, I'll be sure to let you know. Stephen Mensah emailed me with a story about being the branch manager of a bank in Ghana who had squirreled away last year's profits from his branch into an anonymous account, and wanted my help embezzling it. Of course, and as usual, there would be practically no risk, as it's going to be an online transfer. I said, OK. He replied with one of those long, wordy, pasted replies, whittering on about the situation in the global world today. Well, that's if you believe in the global world. Wanting me to know that in a community where there are bad eggs, the good eggs will also be found there. Never heard of that one, but whatever. There were a couple of paragraphs about the transaction not being by force, and if I was willing to proceed, we would forge ahead toward the great goal. And of course, he wanted my personal information. Say it with me, you know, the sort of information you should never share with a stranger on the internet. I asked, is the fund glarded? The scammer answered a different question, saying I have since placed this fund in a sundry account. I repeated, is it glarded? The scammer replied, I have taken time to explain in detail how this claim will be executed, and I hope it will help us forge ahead towards this claim. I explained, I merely need to know if the fund is glarded. My finances are nivoted in a tax code. The scammer said, I really don't understand what you mean by glarded. I said, I thought you said you work in finance. Are you new at the job? They replied, I am newly promoted. Why do you ask? I said, that explains it. I did think it was strange that you asked me to explain glarding, but perhaps you're still awaiting training on that topic. I suggest you consult your manager and get back to me on the glarding of this fund. And maybe Stephen Mensah did consult his manager, as I never heard from him again. Bana Adnan wrote to say, please, I need your assistant to relocate to your country with my daughter. Due to the conflict and killings here in Egypt, I have $5 million which I will use to establish a viable joint company with you. I replied, Hi, Banana. The scammer replied with probably a pre-written story, saying, well, I am Mrs. Bana Adnan. Thank you so much for your reply, which I have received with good faith, as I have the belief that you will not betray me and my only daughter when we arrive in your country. All you need to do is forward your bank account to enable me to contact the bank where my fund is deposited in respect of my fund transfer to your bank account. So you can help us rent a house over there and keep the balance fund in your bank account till we arrive in your country. I will pay all it will cost to transfer my fund to your bank account. Also offer you 30% of the total fund transfer to your bank account for your help. I said, OK, have these funds been glarded at all? It's important I know this detail as my account is in a tax code. Missing the point, the scammer replied, I really want to especially thank you for your willingness to assist me and my daughter. First thing first, the fund in question belongs to me, and all I need from you is to send your bank details so I can forward to my bank to transfer my funds to your position. I'm going to pay whatever it will cost to transfer my funds to your account. So I said, understood, but it's important to know if the money has been glarded. Trying to push past the confusion, the scammer said, I want you to know that it is my money and I can instruct the bank to transfer to your bank account once you provide me with your bank details. I will take care of what it will cost to transfer the funds to your position. I asked, why can't you just answer the question? Has the money been glarded? At last, the scammer replied with, "Please, I don't understand what you mean by has the money been guarded. Can you explain to me better so I can give you answer immediately?" I said, "Strange. I thought it would be common knowledge to anyone with a bank account. My own accounts are in a tax code, so it's important to know whether any incoming funds are guarded." They said, "Well, I don't know what that is, and that's why I didn't reply to that earlier. As for me, I pay my taxes always, and I assure you we will not have any issues as a result of tax payments. Let me know if you will assist me and my daughter in this matter so we can move forward." So I said helpfully, "Perhaps you can check with the motoristry assistant at your bank. Unguarded funds can result in serious inequality when transferring to coded expostrons. You might need to obtain a gadgement certificate." The scammer came back with, "Sorry for the late reply due to the crisis in this place. Well, I want you to know that I don't need your money. All I need from you is your honesty to help me keep my money until I and my daughter come to your country. You can also help me look for a house to rent and suggest any business that you think I can invest my money in when we arrive in your country. Thank you for your time and attention, my dear." So I said, "Cool. Hit me up with an email when you get here." Now, it should be noted that at no point in our conversation had anyone asked or answered where "here" is. The scammer said, "Thank you for your response. Well, all I need to do now is forward your bank account details to enable me to contact the bank where my fund is deposited in respect of my fund transfer to your bank account, so you can help us rent a house over there and keep the balance fund in your bank account." I replied, "Sure. Let's do that when you get here. When are you coming? What airport do you expect to arrive into?" They said, "I want to be sure that my funds are safe in your country before I move out of here with my daughter." I said, "They will be very safe here. Don't worry about that." They said, "Okay, send your bank details to me so I can forward the bank transfer my fund to your position." I asked, "Did you get the certificate for me?" But there was no reply. Perhaps they're travelling. And finally, Mr. David Nicholas, or maybe it was Peter Mike, wrote to say, "Good news! The British High Commission has actually verified and discovered that your payment has been unnecessarily delayed by corrupt officials of the company who are trying to divert your fund of $4.7 million into their private account. Therefore, we have obtained an irrevocable payment guarantee on your payment with the bank to make your payment through a new ATM Visa card system, which you can use to withdraw your money in any ATM machine around your area." I was to contact Mrs. Susan Mark at the bank and provide all my personal details. You know, the sort of personal details you should never share with some random Susan on the internet. So I withheld all my personal details and just emailed Susan to say, "Okay." Susan replied to say, "Thanks for your email. You have to read my massage well. I am honestly telling you, all you have to do is send the data info below where you want to receive your fund and my working ID card, Burkina Faso. You will not pay and pay, okay? Believe me. Thank you and God bless, it is real." Sounds highly plausible. Susan also wanted me to make contact on her new WhatsApp number, but still expected those pesky personal details. I said, "Please can you confirm if the funds are guarded?" The scammer replied, "Yes. All you have to do is everything we ask you to do. Just follow instructions." Then, "Thank you for your email. I receive your details. Now, if you want your fund by ATM Visa card, the cost is. Thereafter, your card will be processed and delivered to you at a cost of $580, service and delivery and registration fee, and you'll be able to access your 4.7 million USD from any ATM machine in your country or any part of the world." I replied, "So the fund is definitely guarded. Okay, I'll need some inequality documentation as my accounts are in a tax code." Oddly, the scammer then sent me what looks to be the pre-written reply they have for people who ask to deduct the fees from the fund, saying, "Please, I want you to know that your request is impossible. We don't deduct. I am sorry for happened to you, but you have to try to come up with a fee so that we can proceed and get everything done soon. I'm waiting for the payment slip." I argued, "I didn't say anything about deductions. I just want to know if the funds are guarded." The scammer said, "I told you yes, and you have to come up with the fee. Make your choice how you want to receive your fund through ATM Visa card or online banking transfer. Then try to send the fee so that we can proceed urgent. And also try to send your full data as soon as you send the fee. Add me on WhatsApp." But of course there was a complication, as I was quick to point out. If the funds are guarded, I will need you to present a certificate of inequality because my account is in a tax code. Please would you provide the necessary document? The scammer replied, "Dear sir, thanks for your email. Yes, all you needed will be sending to you as soon as you send the fee for opening of the online account in your name and give the online address details to do your transfer by yourself to any of your account of your choice. So all you need to do now is try to make sure that you send the fee urgent so that we can proceed immediately and get everything done soon. Thanks and God bless." I said, "No, I'm not paying any fees until you supply the certificate. That's just how this needs to work." Temper clearly rising now, the scammer replied with a tiny hint of aggression, saying, "Sir, this is our job. You have to follow our instructions so that you will receive your fund immediately without any delay. Believe me, I am a woman of my world." but I always respond to aggression with righteous indignation, so I said, I think I was quite clear about what's required. Please provide the certificate. They responded, you're going to receive everything you need as soon as you send the required fee and also reconfirm your information to us immediately you send the fee. I stood my ground and said, I already told you it's not going to happen that way. Inequality certificate, fee, transfer. That's the order of events here. This is an absolute requirement for tax-coded accounts. I can't even set up the association for the fee without the certificate. But the scammer was still pushing, saying, I'm still waiting for the fee, please try to send the fee today so that we can get everything done. Send by Western Union or MoneyGram money transfer. If you can send through Bitcoin, just let me know. Well, I could send by Bitcoin, I suppose. I do have some envelopes left somewhere. But no, I argued, I told you yesterday, you have to provide the inequality certificate before I can even consider paying the fee. Perhaps you don't realise that if I were to commence depletion of the fee gaseously, I could find myself jectured by the National Office of Spentix. I think the scammer was probably confused by this, and so decided to hand me off to their supposed bank, saying, this is to confirm and certify to your that we instructed and ordered from International Ministry of Finance of West Africa and African Union to transfer deposited your fund's sum of $4.7 million to Chorus Bank International. So I replied, copying in the bank, saying, as discussed previously, I require a copy of the Certificate of Inequality for the Glarded funds. Perhaps your bank will be kind enough to provide this. The bank replied about an hour later with an email that nearly made my eyes bleed. I apologise in advance for showing you this monstrosity. Amid this wall of inverted block text, there are some lovely grammatical gems, so put on your safety goggles and we'll take a look. Your mail is well received. We are here to give your all our best service. Ensure that your achieve your fund. And asking for UR personal information, UR copy of ID card or international passport or driven licence. We are looking forward to receive your above information for immediate of your fund. I just replied, please provide the Certificate of Inequality for the Glarded Fund. They responded saying, your mail is well received, but you'll fill up our application form first of all and return it back to us immediately. This was followed by a numbered list containing one item, numbered 2. What did your mean by this Certificate of Inequality? Your should explains us the type of certificate your needs. What is mean of Certificate of Inequality? I decided to explain without explaining anything, saying, I need a Certificate of Inequality for the fund, as I understand it is Glarded. Now, brace for this next reply, because I always think when you see a scammer repeat something in an email, it means their temper is fraying. I mean, remember that email about the soul called Mr. Barrister John Warosa? Your mail is well received, but what is meaning of Certificate of Inequality? What is Certificate of Inequality? Also, you should check the spelling of words of the Certificate of Inequality. I think is not correct of name of certificate your need. Name of the Certificate of Inequality does not correct word spelling. Okay, verify it and get back to us. You should verify the normal spelling name of Certificate of Inequality and get back to us. What is Certificate of Inequality? Well, I said, how can you be asking this question if you work in a bank? They replied, name of the Certificate of Inequality does not correct word spelling. Okay, verify it and get back to us. You should verify the normal spelling of name of Certificate of Inequality and get back to us. What is Certificate of Inequality? I replied, I can't understand the problem. A Certificate of Inequality is required when transferring Glarded funds to a tax-coded account. Are you perhaps new at this job? This information is known to all of the staff at my bank. I can't understand why you apparently have never heard of it. Also, I don't understand why all of your emails are written in blinated text like that. They said you should send us a copy of the certificate you're talking about, so that we can understand the type of certificate. I replied, how would I have the certificate? It's your job at the bank behabling the Glarded funds to issue the certificate. Is there anyone else there at your bank that I could perhaps commiss-intend with? I don't mean to be collogious, but at times it seems like I'm communicating with a small boy. Do I have to explain everything to you? A couple of days later, they sent a certificate. Sadly, not a Certificate of Inequality, at least as far as I can tell. I mean, I've never seen one, so how would I know? But it is a work of art. Let me show you its features. I mean, firstly, just sit back and look at it. What a lovely, chaotic pudding of a document. Okay, quick run around the best bits. The agreement therein contained are truthfully correct and binding on the parties. Alteration made on this specimen after it has been legally issued and accepted rendered this document valid, null and void. The depositor or duly a recognised representative has unconditioned right of claim to the fund. Then there's the date of dispatch. Almost certainly composed using the word art feature in Microsoft Word, and the whole document is liberally sprayed with clip art. I'm fairly sure this signature will be that of some celebrity, and the most fabulous thing of all is the date of deposit, the 25th of February. This is lovely, but not what I asked for, so I said, many thanks for this document. However, it makes no mention of inequality or the guarded nature of the funds. I need the inequality certificate before I can continue. And this seemed to break the scammer a little bit, as the next reply was, sorry, we cannot do anything again about the certificate you're required. You're advised to recontact the bank where your fund is before transferred here in our bank. We are not Office of Certificate. You should contact Office of Certificates to scour, obtain any type of certificate your needs. And finally, sounding full of defeat, we are sorry tired on your requirement. And that's good enough for me. I left it right there. I hope this has been fun. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.